Juan Soto, spoiler alert, you already gave this one out, 6-1 over at BetMGM. Alvarez is 9-1. Seager's 10-1. J-Rod's 12-1. Rushman, who I played, 16-1. I'm all in on the O's this year, man. Gunner's 18-1 and Rushman 16-1. That's crazy. Kyle Tucker, I play him every year, 18-1. And then Bobby Witt Jr., 20-1. Other than Juan Soto, who we've already talked about, who would you maybe look at in this market, or who do you expect a big year from?
There's a couple I'm interested in. Bo Bichette is a guy that I'm interested in, not just because he has a great Star Wars name, but if Toronto can turn the corner, Bo Bichette's going to be a big part of that. And I would throw him up there. Randy Arozarena, Randy every year feels like he gets right up to that line, right? Like he toes up to that line where he starts playing with my emotion last year. Deck and I were having a ball last year with the crossed arms mean mug that Randy was throwing around. Got super hot in the World Baseball Classic, brought that momentum in. I would love to see him put together a full season of it. But look, man, I think Juan Soto is in the perfect position. I think he is in the perfect spot. I think the one thing he was missing was structure. I think he's one of those young cats that was so far above his league when he got going. And then he goes to San Diego, a place that pretty much just let the players run the clubhouse, let the inmates run the asylum, so to speak. And he's not going to have that option in New York, because not just is that not what the Yankees do, but Ryan, like everybody wearing pinstripes, everybody wearing a suit in that office, everybody's under the gun this year. If they tank, if they fall again this year and they fall off, I think you have got to have not a clubhouse reboot. I think you've got to have a franchise reboot. I think everybody top to bottom's got to go, which means that, I think we've all been in some sort of position of management. It's one thing when you're screwing up and it's making you look bad. It's another thing when you're screwing up and it's putting my ass on the line. That's where I have to turn into the bad guy, even if I like you as a bro, and I've got to kind of get down on you a little bit. And I kind of feel that's where the Yankees are. Listen, I'm passing on Aaron Judge as my vote because I think that's how good Juan Soto is going to be for this team this year. The pressure's not on him. He's got a Giancarlo Stanton there. He's got an Aaron Judge there. He doesn't have to be the man like he did last year in San Diego, like he did his whole career in D.C. I think you lift that pressure, you give him a little structure. I think Juan Soto is going to be a dude this year.
Me too. And good point about the Yanks too. And that's the one thing I appreciate about organizations like the New York Yankees and the Boston Red Sox and even the St. Louis Cardinals, not the biggest markets, but they don't accept mediocrity. Like in the Dodgers, they never rebuild. Like my team, big market team, has been rebuilding since birth. But those teams, even if they have a down year, you can't expect, even if they have a down year, they're attempting to win. Like the Mets, for example. They're probably going to suck. But look at their payroll. At least they're paying guys and going after guys, just not the right guys.
Juan Soto. Okay? Juan Soto is my pick for AL MVP this year. I think Juan Soto over in San Diego was in a spot with the Padres that the locker room was allowed to deteriorate and get toxic. I think you had maybe the most individualistic team in recent memory in the Padres last year. No team should have had that much talent and been that bad. That's just the guts of a dying locker room. Juan Soto, and you saw we all remember what he did in DC when he was an at. Juan Soto's still got master in him. He's still got top list player, a prime player locked up in there. And I think he's the type of guy that just needs to be locked down. I think there are some players that just need the discipline instilled in them. And yes, you would love to have 25 guys on your team that all do the right thing all the time and put in the work all the time and grind all the time. But the reality is these are young, dumb, rich athletes. Some of them need to get a kick in the pants, and there's no team that does that better than the Yankees. Juan Soto is the difference, and the Yankees will be for real this year. First off, I agree entirely. I am done with the Chicago White Sox, and I look at a team. I love the dynasty that never was. That because it feels perfect. They had all the talent in the world. Deck and I can't tell you how many segments last year, all but cursed out the White Sox. Poor Mario had to be living on like the edge with the way that we kept kind of bumping right up against just saying bleep the White Sox for what they're doing right now. I'm not a fan. It's 63.5, man. Like,
right?
golly, it feels low, and I still want to go under. Honestly, that team
Let's
might
bet
win
the
50
under.
games.
Let's bet the under right now.
I honestly, let's pull. Like, I could pull the trigger on that. I've seen it on. Listen, BetMGM's got great numbers. I'm seeing it at even money in a couple of spots. Why the hell not? Right? Like, I don't see Chicago getting there.
Yeah, I think Jaden Daniels, he's got a high ceiling, right? I don't know if he's quite Lamar for me. I think Lamar is a little bit the thing with Daniels is he's 6'4", right? But he's 200 probably. You know, he's going to weigh in pretty light, and that shows up. And he takes a lot of unnecessary hits too. You know, he's fearless. You can say that about him. But there are reps where he's jumping into piles. It's like, bro, preserve yourself, okay? Try and play it safe. We need you, right? We need you on the next down. So I think that competitive toughness is there. I think the running ability, like you said, that's the top selling point. He's explosive. He is fast, too. When he has a runaway, man, he's gone. Very agile. I mean, he is the top flight of that kind of creation ability. I don't think the arm is quite at Lamar's level either. That's the thing, and that's another separation thing between him and May and Williams, right? I don't think the arm velocity is quite there. I don't think the angle freedom is quite there. A ceiling comp for him, though, because if you're thinking about ceiling, if it can click, I do think you could be looking at maybe a Lamar light, right? I think right now a decent mid-range comp is Tyrod Taylor. I think, Tyrod Taylor at his peak was a pretty efficient quarterback who I think was a little bit ahead of his time, right? If an offense had known how to use his running ability a little bit more, maybe he could have had a longer prime, but that's a mid-range, maybe a low-end comp as well, right? But I think it's tough because you don't see a ton of passers that have that lighter frame, but are also as dynamic and as reliable as a runner, right? Because usually they have that added frame density to, kind of increase their durability and longevity, right? So it's an interesting projection. It's a unique projection. It's one we haven't seen very often. I think low end, Tyrod Taylor, high end, maybe you're looking at Lamar light if you want to be optimistic. He's got some work to do as a passer, and he's not quite there with the arm, but the running ability, it's certifiable.
I do think so. I think they can win games in different ways. Whereas, Houston, like you said, it's mostly got to be a rock fight. Although the offense looked pretty good in the second half yesterday against Iowa State. And Purdue, if Edey gets in any foul trouble or if opponents are hitting threes against that drop coverage, then they've got a little bit of problem. But I think UConn can batter you inside. They can beat you in a track meet up and down. They've got wing shooters. They've got a point guard that completely controls the pace. Tristan Newton, triple-double threat every single night. We saw him in the national title last year, really look great on the biggest stage, and he's kept it going into this year. And then, with Klingon back, he's just such a difference maker. The shot blocking, the gravity as a roll threat in pick and rolls, you can just throw it up to him as a lob threat, and he'll dunk everything. He's a terrific offensive rebounder because of that size. UConn, part of why everybody's so excited and enamored with them, because they haven't had that stumble. They haven't lost since the Seton Hall debacle early in the Big East season, but I think they haven't lost because they rock. So it's kind of like a chicken or egg theory with why are they so good? Are they this good? Well, they just keep winning, and they do it in pretty admirable ways. Now, if they drop them tonight, perhaps we start to see the narrative spin a little bit, but like I said, it's a really tough road environment. I'm not going to knock UConn at all if they drop them tonight. I think they get it done, though. I think they're the best team in the country. They've got the most weapons, the most versatility. Their eighth guy is a top 50 recruit in Solomon Ball that can go off for 15 in a game. So they just got so much depth. They're really well coached. Their whole staff, Kimani Young, Luke Murray underneath Dan Hurley, those guys are brilliant and going to have full-time head coaching jobs whenever they want them in the offseason. I just have kind of surrendered, and UConn has like you said, asserted themselves as the top team.